26 years ago, I came up with an idea it was the beginning of an idea for teaching creative writing, and found myself interested in it. I saw teaching as an art form. It was a lonely feeling because it wasn't shared by writers. Certainly they saw their teaching jobs as rewards for their talent, for their accomplishments, and the teaching aspect of it, they basically taught students what they did. And if they were teaching a 18-year-old something that they in their 60s were doing and realized that there was a certain gap there, it wasn't something that they really thought about. I didn't realize until I wrote my memoir, my dyslexia, where it came from, where this need to teach others, where the idea of the persona-driven narrator came from. I taught myself how to read when I was in third grade. I was 11, and I didn't know how to read, and the next school down was going to be, I guess, reformatory. There weren't any other schools left. So I created a little boy. My mother would read me comics and tried to teach me how to read the dialogue bubbles. And I created a little boy who could read. And I wondered what it felt like. And over a period of time, I found that it worked for me. I didn't know why, of course. I think it had a lot to do with it decreased. Since this boy wasn't dyslexic, I didn't understand I was dyslexic, but since this boy could read, it was okay for me to. It was a way of managing and lowering my anxiety level. One of the aspects of this method is to help others do what I did. They create a persona narrator that isn't them. They're not imprisoned in an autobiographical I. They can see the world through someone else's perspective. There's really basically, briefly, there's more than three aspects, but to summarize, the first one is perspective. Creating someone else, inventing a persona narrator is a way of giving yourself perspective on a subject you wouldn't otherwise have. Very brief example is Kafka's Metamorphosis. If one were to try to explain to someone else through a diary or a letter why you feel like a bug, you would come up with almost self-pitying. I feel alienated, I feel this, I feel lonely, I feel... A person would want to be sympathetic, but it would be hard to identify. Now, what Kafka did is create a brilliant third-person persona narrator who described that Gregory Samsa woke up as a bug, as a water bug, a beetle. And it went on from there. You identified with these feelings. Using this different perspective made what would be ordinary, made it extraordinary. The second is attention. When you give students, whether they're dyslexic or otherwise, the kind of attention they either knowingly or unknowingly desperately want, there's a kind of blossoming that happens, almost despite themselves. I think this is a room full of teachers and people who understand this. When someone is starving or desperate on some level for a certain kind of recognition and you give it to them, they overcome all kinds of fears and anxieties. The third one would be, it helps them take the risk. Take the risk of being creative. I think being creative, for people who are not used to it and don't know how to deal with the anxiety, is one of the most frightening things because of the pleasure, the intensity of the pleasure. I think I'll end there. Okay.